Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul. I am a nerd, and you are attending the December 2013 Worldox Virtual User Group meeting. I am here with Mary Jo. She is not a nerd. And today we are going to talk about, what are we talking about? Don't tell me, Mary Jo. Everything that has happened over the last year in the world of Worldox. Now, we kind of cheated because we started having Worldox virtual user group meetings sometime in the last year. So one of the things we're going to talk about is GX3, even though it technically came out before we got around to having these meetings, and technically it came out before we got to the year we are in now, the year 2013. We are also going to talk about the new Worldox Enterprise and Cloud parts of the GX3 platform and how they fit into that, and how they help you to extend the Worldox desktop beyond the world of your confined network in your office. I'm going to talk about that. Mary Jo is going to talk about what's new in GX3. And before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. I want to show you this thing here. It is probably something looking just like this is on your screen over on the right. If it's not, that's because you've been here before and you know that if you want to minimize it, you click this button that looks like an arrow pointing to the right, and this part goes away. Once you do that, this button that had previously looked like an arrow pointing to the right now looks like an arrow pointing to the left, and that means that's how you bring this thing back. If you're shy and you want to type a question right here, you would want to bring this back to do so. If you do type a question here, please do not forget to hit send. The very instant you hit send, Leanne, our humble and capable moderator, will notice that you have asked a question. She will wait patiently for the right time to interrupt Mary Jo or myself, and she will ask your question on your behalf. If you instead are not feeling shy, but instead do have a question, raise your hand. Press this button here that looks like a hand with an arrow pointing upward in front of it, and you will then be able to ask your question live. Leanne will still be notified instantly. She will still be humble and capable, and she will still interrupt Mary Jo or I at the appropriate time. But at that point, instead of asking your question, she will unmute you and let you ask your own damn question. I said it. I've always been saying darn all along. I slipped. Oh my gosh. I hope I don't get fired. Either way, whether you're asking a question live or you're typing one, if we are not properly or completely answering it, just keep typing more questions or keep asking more questions until they are adequately answered. If you're typing them, again, do not forget to hit send after each question that you type. And as long as you do that, we should hopefully get your question answered thoroughly. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Mary Jo. I'm going to have her talk about what's new in GX3, and while she's giving you a little preamble, I'm going to get her set so she can move the keyboard and mouse.
Well, a lot of our clients, and hopefully most of the people that we have here, are already on GX3, which would be awesome, but we know that we have several clients that are not. In fact, we still have clients that are back on GX, the original Worldox. So we have some things here that we want to go through to tell you that are new in GX3. Some things for the GX3 users that we have now you might not know. And so we want to tell you about some of the things that they've added in that version. First of all, we have the customizable toolbar. Up here at the top, you can add buttons and you can change the fonts and make them bigger, different colors, or whatever you decide. You can add different buttons to this toolbar at the top. Just by right-clicking, you can add buttons and do that. Do I have control now?
You do now, yeah.
He's working frantically to give me control of the mouse, and it's so hard to let go. So anyway, you can right-click on that toolbar. You can append the button, and then you can add all kinds of different buttons up here. And then, again, you can change the display. I think one of our users has it, and she has script and all kinds of cool fonts up here. So you can just make that your own. Next, over on the left-hand side, these category buttons over here are also customizable. So you can add that, and that is new too. These category buttons weren't even here on the navigation pane before. Now they are, and now you can also edit these with this little wrench tool and customize what you see over here on this side. We have enhanced My Workspaces. These little workspaces here are now new as well.
We don't like these, do we, Mary Jo?
Not very much.
We're not very fond of those.
No.
We're going to skip over them and pretend they don't
That
exist.
or the Favorite Matters folder. Paul and I really aren't too keen on that because it only shows your most recent matters that you worked on. It's not a list that stays stationary. It's static and it's constantly in change, and people want that to be, you know, they think that it's supposed to be something that's their favorite matters that they can post to, and it doesn't work that way. But those are also two new features there as well. You also have the bookmarks view over here in the navigation pane now. So that is another place to get to bookmarks. We've always had them up here on the top on the screen, and you also can have your bookmarks pasted here as a little shortcut, but now they are also over in the navigation pane as well. We have what we call legal hold. And all legal hold is it's a feature formerly known as records in previous Worldox releases, and it's been repurposed. It's just based on user needs and requirements that we have now. So legal hold is very useful. It's a way to store files in a read-only repository, and you can have tightly controlled access so that you can satisfy judicial hold requirements. So if you've got some judicial thing that tells you you have to hold these documents and can't make changes to them, now you've got this place to do that. It's called legal hold. GX3 also enhanced the speed and integration that they had with other programs, so that was new. They also have the Did You Know, and I don't think we have it up here anymore, but I can add it. There is a Did You Know button, and of course I'll have to try to find it. I'll let you get on that and see if you can find where the Did You Know button is. I think it's under Help. It's right here, I think, under, let me get off of that.
Oh, sure. Tell me to do it.
I know. I delegated, and then I'm getting it back. Okay, so here it is. So here it is, the Did You Know button. This just has some little tips and things that you can click on that can give you some more information about GX3. There are some new remote hosting options. Productivity suite choices are visible before you upgrade. And what does that mean? Well, if you don't have Productivity Suite, you still get to see all the features, but you don't get to use them. How fun is that?
Which can be confusing.
It's like kind of a little tease. You know, workflows is one, for instance. And if you didn't have Productivity Suite, you didn't purchase that upgrade, you will see workflows, but you won't be able to use them. So it's kind of a little, you know, you can see it, but until you buy the upgrade, you can't use it.
That's kind of like the Practice Master feature where it says, do you want to back up your software? And you say yes, and it's like, well,
right.
You could if you had Platinum.
That's true. It's a tease.
Yeah.
There is no reinstallation needed to add the Productivity Suite tools, so if you do decide to upgrade because you want workflows or one of the other options that they have, you just get a new key, we put it in, you don't have to reinstall everything, you just upgrade your key. There is selectively delete drop list items. Paul, you want to take me to that help document so that we just go under help?
Selectively delete.
It's up just on the help on the toolbar.
Yep.
Yep. And then go to contents. This is also help. This is really cool. And if you want to follow along after we're done here, I'm in the What's New list here, and I'm just going down the list. But we want to look at the selectively delete drop list menu because I'm just going to show you, if you click on here, you can see what it's talking about. So if you're underneath the client and you're in the list, you can actually select and then delete things right off of that list. So after we're done here with our presentation, if you want to come back into that, it was just under Help, Contents, What's New in GX3. So just for your information.
Let's do that again. Help, Contents,
and then What's New in GX3.
And there we go. It loads up in Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. What's New in GX3, and there we are.
Now, we'll be talking about that Help feature and a feature webinar and going into it in a lot more detail, but that is a really good place to get some help as well. But that's where we are with the What's New in GX3. You also have the option in GX3 to return email that has been stored in Worldox back to Outlook. So if we can, I'm going to get out of this list, and if I have an email in Worldox that I've already moved to Worldox, I can simply right-click on that email, and I can send to and send it back to Outlook. I think I've had that question throughout the year is what happens if I move something but I didn't mean to? I want it back in my Outlook. Well, you can retrieve it. You can just go in and you can get that email, right-click, send to Outlook, and then you can go on and put it right back. You also have the ability to search for prior document versions. Something that people may or may not have known is that in prior versions, prior to GX3, when you were doing a text search, you were only searching the most current version, not past versions. Well, GX3, they fixed that. So now you are searching all prior document versions as well.
There was huge hoopla in the reseller community when it became obvious to certain resellers that hadn't known that that was the case. And it turned out that hardly anybody knew that when they were searching in prior versions, they were not, or prior, I should say prior versions of Worldox, they were only searching the most recent version if you were using versioning. And so the people at Worldox recognized that they were kind of in hot water, and they jumped right on the bandwagon and made sure that that was fixed in GX3.
And that has been released for quite, like
yeah,
Paul and I said, that GX3 has been out for a while. But if you are on a version of GX2 or prior, that might be something that you want to be aware of, that you want to upgrade, not just for that reason, but that is a good reason to upgrade to GX3.
Definitely true.
The next one is really cool. How many times have you wanted to go in and edit the document table? Or you wanted to go in and you wanted to edit the client table and add something to it. And if you're integrating with something else, you probably wouldn't do the client table, but the document table is a good example. You want to add a document type. And so you would go into an actual document and go to edit the profile and get into the drop-down and get to the document table, and then you would go in and edit and add that field, or you wanted to delete that field. Well, if you go into, under Edit, and you just go down to this little Field Tables button here, it can take you in. You have to choose what profile group, and then it takes me right here into tables so that I can get to it. I don't have to go find a document. I don't have to go do it. I can edit those tables right from here. So that is a place that I think a lot of people will find that helpful if you just want to do the doc type. Edit Field Tables, go to doc type, and then you're right here to edit the list. So you don't have to go find a file or anything like that. So that was kind of a cool one. Categories are new. So any of you that have made the switch from GX2 to GX3 know that libraries are now called categories. And there are new ways to search for categories. They did change that a little bit. So when you're searching for them, it's helpful to use tags. And I think Paul and I have covered that before. But they became categories instead of libraries. They are a little bit more user-friendly. They can be specific. There's several different things that you can do with those.
And I think we've had a virtual user group meeting in the past where we covered those
just on categories.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions on those, let us know. Another change was there's an easy way to export file lists and field tables. If you just go into File and then under File, Edit, Export. Where's my export? I think I have to actually be in a table, Paul. You want to get me over to, or a list. Where is that? Here it is. I'm sorry, I found it.
You found it?
Yep, it's on the list.
Yep.
So if I go into my list, I'm sorry, I'm still finding out which buttons these things are under myself some days. But under list, you can export. So if I'm on a document list or I am on a file list or field tables and I want to export those out, I can easily just go under my list and hit export and get a file that is exporting all of those out there for me.
So you could have a list of all your active matters or of all your doc types.
Yep.
Interesting.
This next one is really cool. How many times have you wanted to rename a file, and again, you have to go into the profile edit, and then you go in and, you have to change the name of the file? Well, if you are just highlighted on the document that you want to change the name of, all you have to do is just click on it once, and it will open up a box that is editable. So if I wanted to change this to virtual meeting 2 and save it with my little check mark, I've just changed the document description without having to open up a profile group or anything.
Should we admit to them that we found that out ourselves
no,
today?
Shh,
oh,
okay. Be quiet, Paul. We knew this.
We've known
the
this
Worldox
all
gurus.
along.
We know everything. No, we just discovered this morning ourselves, and we thought this was really cool, so we wanted to pass that on.
After we got done laughing at how we didn't know this and how cool it is, we decided we'd tell you.
So anyway, all I'm doing, again, highlighting on the field, clicking on it once after I've highlighted it, it opens up my box so that I can then edit it, and then I just hit my my green checkbox, and then I can save that change. And then lastly, we had, there's additionally more selective same profile as profiling choices. So if you ever come in and you create a new document and you want to save that document with the same profile information as another document.
I do this a lot when I'm creating proposals in Excel, but then I want to save the PDF that I create with the same name, for instance. So same name, same client, same matter, same everything.
So we're just going to create a new document, and we're going to hit Save. And when we do, of course, we get our box. But up at the top, we've got, after you choose your profile group, same profile as, and then you can go change to whatever profile that you want to.
So we find the document that we want to do the same profile as, and we'll pretend it's this one. And it used to just pump all those values into the profile and let you save it. But now what it does is it lets you select which of those things you're going to include and which you aren't. So that's kind of cool. Now, a lot of times I'm just accepting the ones that are there, all of them. But it's nice to be able to change it from, if you had a doc type to represent the proposal in Excel and another to represent it in PDF, you could change the doc type but leave everything else the same. Very, very cool.
Yep. So those are all I have to cover for GX2. And again, you can just go under Help and then What's New in GX2, and there are links. GX3. Good grief. See what I'm doing? GX3. And then click on each of these links for these topics, and it actually shows you samples of what I just talked about. So, and more information on what you can do to change them or all that. So, any questions? No questions, Mary Jo. Okay, Paul, it's all yours.
Well, I'm going to talk about the other changes that occurred, and these changes actually did occur in 2013. They are also part of the GX3 platform, but they were released after the initial regular release of GX3. And they both have to do with getting to your documents when you're not in the office. Now, if you, yes?
I hate to get you, before you get on your roll, I did have a question, and Carolyn actually raised her hand, so she is ready to ask a question herself. So Carolyn, are you there? No, she's not answering me. Her hand was up.
Do you think she's being shy?
I don't know.
Maybe she's just being coy.
Raise your hand again, Carolyn, if you'd like me to unmute you.
Or send a question if all of a sudden you got shy. I remember when my kids were little, they'd have all sorts of things to say until you looked at them.
Okay, I have unmuted her. She raised her hand again, but now she's typed her question in, I think. Let me see. I can get her question. Sorry about that. The questions are not opening up for. Here we go. Her question is, I have added a particular column to my Worldox, and it doesn't stick. How do I get this to stick?
Okay. What we do...
Hold on one second. Let me get you out of here.
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know why I couldn't unmute you, Carolyn, but thanks for typing your question.
Okay, so this is one of the things that I have clients do all the time. You add a column, and then you save the column template here. And you think, okay, I saved my template, so it should be good. But it's not. This is just saving it for this session. If you want to add a column, and then let's insert a column. I'm just going to insert categories here. I don't think we use that, but in our stuff. But there, I've inserted it. Now, if I just right-click and I save the template or save column template, it'll go away the next time I'm here. Same thing with sorts or any of those kinds of things. But if I click this little save button here, there's a little styles button, or over here under display, window styles, and I'm sorry, there's not a save over there, Paul. I'm sorry, it's here. It's got our save button is got a world on it now with Worldox instead of
somebody's been messing with our system.
Somebody's been customizing our buttons. This is usually a little save. It's like the little disk. So this is where you would actually save the styles, or underneath display, window styles, save. And by doing that, if you're a manager, it will give you rights to be able to save it for just you or for everyone. And then that will have it stick. Now, if you're still having issues and you come back in and it's not sticking, let me know because, you know, we might have to get Worldox involved. There might be something else going on. So,
but that's probably what it is.
But that's usually what happens. People think if you save down there it will fix it, but it doesn't.
And you would think that if you right-clicked here and chose Save that it would stick, but that would be too easy.
Template,
yeah.
So,
okay, so back to talking
but
about...
before you go on back, I have another continuation
Who
question.
Who is this woman that keeps interrupting me?
So this is a continuation question, maybe. You mentioned prior versions. We used to use that prior to Worldox, and it came in handy when we have accidentally saved over a document. Is this something that we have now?
I'm not quite sure what's being asked.
I think it's a different version of a document.
Mm-hmm. I think this is a different question. It's not related to columns, is that correct?
No, it's not related to columns.
Okay, gotcha. I was still thinking of columns. I'm like, what? Yeah, you've always been able to save and choose whether you wanted to have it be a new version or replace the file or I think that's the only...
Yeah, replace file, save as new version.
Save it as a new version. Is that what you're asking, or? I guess let's get some more clarity on that question and come back to it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure either.
I'm not sure if I answered
There is the ability to delete a file, but instead of deleting it, you can move it to salvage bin. But I think this person's asking about prior versions of a file. Mm-hmm. And I guess the only way that that could come in handy is if you actually have saved as a new version. So, for instance, if I pull up this, where's a Word document?
Oh, here's a little clarification. If we accidentally saved over something.
So you've accidentally replaced a file.
Yes. Is there a way to get the older version back?
No.
I don't think there is. If you've saved over the top. Now, some firms that I've worked with have, now this isn't really related to Worldox, but they have it set so that every few seconds Word saves a new version or something in itself outside of Worldox. And I do believe I've had an IT person able to go back and find it through Word,
it
but
could
it
also
was sketchy.
be, rather than being Word, you could also have what's called a shadow backup, that every version that you save, you can go back to the previous versions, but that would be a function not of Worldox, like Mary Jo said, but instead a function of either Word's autosave feature or of some sort of external shadow type always running backup system that's going to save these previous versions. There isn't anything in Worldox that's going that we know of. Of course, we don't know everything. We didn't know you could rename a file from the list. There isn't anything that we know of that other than actually physically saying, yes, save a new version, that will do it in the background for you. So, any more questions, Leanne?
No more questions.
Okay. Well, then that's not where I want to be. This is where I want to be now. We're going to talk about saving documents. If this is your office network, and these are the computers in your network, then they access this computer. Let's say this is the big server that's got all your Worldox documents, and these are the computers that are hooked up to your network, and of course you have probably more than two. They access those documents directly. If you go home, you're not connected to Worldox. Now, what does that mean? When you're at work, when you're on one of these blue computers that's hooked through Worldox and through the network into the big server that's got all your documents on it, when you have Worldox running in this environment and you go to save a document or a JPEG file or an Excel spreadsheet or anything, Worldox pops up and says, I'll put that away for you. Where do you want it? What matter? What client? Well, give me a few details. I'll put it away. If you go home to this red computer and you pull up Word and you save a document, you type a document and then go to save it, it's going to just give you the same old dialog box that Word has always given you to put that document away somewhere on that home computer. It is not going to pop up and say, I'll put that away in Worldox. Tell me more about it. Now, so therefore, if you take a document home, the only way to take it home in this scenario, this prior to GX3 scenario, is to put it on a thumb drive, or I almost said a disk, that's dating myself, but put it on something or email it to yourself and take it home and work on it and then bring it back. Now, most people in Worldox would check that document out so that if somebody else tried to edit it, it would tell them they can't. Bob's got it. He's taking it home. He's going to bring it back tomorrow. Chill out. Bob would take it home. He'd edit it. He'd do whatever he needed. He'd bring it back, and he'd check it back in. But in, oops, went the wrong way. In this new world, I got a little ahead of myself there. In this new world, we can install something, and I didn't quite get done drawing my nice pictures here, so I'm just talk here at this point. In this new world, GX3 offers the ability to extend Worldox beyond your office computers, to extend Worldox beyond your network that's in your office, so that when you're at this computer that's at home, or one down here that's at Starbucks, or you're in any sort of computer that is accessible or connected to the internet, when you go to, if you have this thing called the enterprise server running here, which is an extra thing to buy, then when you go to save that document here, or you're at a client's office here, or you're at a Starbucks down here, as long as you've got an internet connection, you can do the same thing you would do if you were in the office. You can start typing a document in Word, and when you go to save it, it's going to put it back on your office computer. What that means is that when you go to open a document in this disconnected computer that's not connected to your network with a wire, if you will, or a wireless connection, it's still connected, because as long as it's connected through the internet and you've got this thing called enterprise server, you can get to those documents and you can save those documents to your server. That's brand new. That's part of the GX3 platform. It means that you put an enterprise server in your office. It's not cheap. I'll tell you right now, it's $5,000 for the enterprise server, and the maintenance on it is $1,000 a year. And it takes a little bit of time to install. We just put one in, and I think we invested, or the client invested, 12 hours of our time to get it configured and installed and set up exactly the way it needs to be. So 8, 10, 12 hours worth of time, the cost for the server, and then the annual maintenance. And all of a sudden, at that point, no matter where somebody is, they take their laptop home, and they're still really technically connected to Worldox. They take that same laptop to Starbucks, or to the cottage, or to the client's office, or to the courthouse. They're still connected to their documents at the office. They're still able to save those documents that they create to the office. That's huge. But for many, that's a costly and cumbersome and hard to maintain investment. So the other option that Worldox has is something called Worldox Cloud. And it's the same thing. It's still an enterprise server. All your documents are still stored on a server somewhere and accessible, but Worldox hosts everything. Now this costs $55 per user per month. So you may be thinking, well, that's expensive too, but all of a sudden, you don't need this server in your office to hold your Worldox documents. You don't need an indexer. You don't need the extra servers that you'd need to run the enterprise server, which is 2 of them, a terminal server and a separate server. All of that goes away. You don't need any of that hardware. You don't need the IT people to maintain it for you, whether they're external or people that are on your staff. All that goes away. And now, all of a sudden, any computer, whether it's one of these that's in your office, or one that's a laptop that's in the courthouse, or at the Starbucks, or at the client's office, everyone is all of a sudden accessing the documents from a cloud-based installation where Worldox is hosting all the documents. They're hosting your indexer. They're hosting your enterprise server. So these 2 new things have come out as part of the GX3 platform. They're very dynamic. When configured properly, they really extend your document management realm outside of your office in a way that makes it possible to do virtually anything, virtually anywhere, in the same way that you would do it in the office. Anyone who's lived in a Worldox environment and has taken work home, or has tried to take work with them to the courthouse or to the clients, knows that it's kind of a juggling match to juggling match. Did I just combine 2 phrases? Yes. Nonetheless, it's a juggling match to try and get these documents outside your server, worked on, and then back in. Many people do it quite effectively, But this takes that and makes it accessible to anybody, whether they have the need often or just every once in a while, whether they have the technical know-how to do it the old-fashioned way or not. It's much easier for them to do that. And that is a big part of the GX3 platform, and these two things did come out just after 2013 started. So there we have it. Everything that's new in GX3, everything that's new as part of the GX3 enterprise and cloud-based platforms. That pretty much covers everything that's happened with Worldox this year. Next month, we're going to be talking about searching. And when I say we're talking about searching, we're talking about everything there is to do with searching. Filters, tags, favorites, bookmarks, the actual search box, how to create searches that can be used over and over again. Everything there is to know about searching will be covered in next month's virtual user group meeting. If you have questions in the meantime, you can email us at Paul.Purdue@attorneycomputersystems.com. We do have people working day and night to try and come up with a longer email address, but for now that's it. Paul.Purdue, like the school, not the chicken, P-U-R-D-U-E, @attorneycomputersystems.com. Everybody have a good afternoon. Leanne, do we have any questions?
No more.
Do you want to interrupt me?
Nope, there's no questions.
Okay. Everybody have a good afternoon, a good rest of the month, and we will see you next year. Bye-bye.